What if I told you the difference between where your health and fitness is at now and where you'd like it to be in 12 months is far less to do with macros and step counts and rep schemes, and more to do with being your word. I recently shared an Instagram post about this, and in this video I want to go a layer deeper and share how I think about this and give you the kind of 3-step process to actually doing it. So when we repeatedly break promises to ourselves, our nervous system learns I am no longer safe to rely on. And this can lead to self-doubt and eventually this identity erosion. We can label ourselves as someone like, I can't commit, I can't follow through with things, I can never stick to anything. And it starts to make these kind of long-term goals, or getting in shape or staying on top of your health and fitness, feel really heavy and hard. A really good example is if, we say to ourselves, I'm going to go for a run tomorrow, wake up in the morning, don't feel like it, and so we don't go. We've all had this experience in some form or another. Whereas if we organise with a mate to go for a run in the morning, we wake up, we don't feel like it, we still go. And so it's this idea that we're not going to break our word to other people, we're not going to disappoint other people, but we're far more likely to disappoint ourselves and break our word to ourselves. And think about what that does over time. It erodes that self-trust and confidence with ourselves, because if, say, a friend did that to you and you organised something or you planned to do something and they consistently didn't show up, they didn't come, you'd start to lose all your self-trust, all your trust in them, all your confidence in them to show up. You wouldn't believe anything that they would say. And so if we flip it and think about our relationship with ourselves and how we make these commitments to ourselves and don't follow through, and maybe once, it's when we stack these micro commitments, these that we don't follow through on over time, that it starts to erode that identity, and we start to lose faith in ourselves to do anything. This is when it gets bigger. So how do we get better at keeping our word? And I think about it in these kind of 3 steps. And the first is design the what and the how. So it's how you actually structure these commitments, these plans. So what a lot of people do is we get these surges of motivation and we make these big commitments, or we say I'm gonna run every day this week, or I'm gonna train every day, or I'm not gonna touch junk food for a month. We do these sprints. And so when we set these perfect targets, and when we inevitably fall off, it's a broken micro commitment. So the first step is being able to structure it in a way that makes it easy. And this comes back to, makes it easy to follow through on. And this comes back to classic James Clear habits. Make it easy, make it enjoyable, make it rewarding. However you need to structure what you're doing so that following through on it becomes easy. And this is where this idea of what I call fallbacks comes into play. So yes, we might have a plan to train 3 times a week. We're going to go to the gym 3 times a week, or we're going to do 3 strength sessions a week, 30 minutes. But on those days where you do wake up and you are exhausted and you don't feel like it, and that 30-minute session feels like a mountain, we have these fallbacks. So we've got the 5-minute version. So when we go, there's no way I can get to the 30-minute session, I don't have time, whatever, but I always can find 5 minutes for myself. I can always do that 5-minute session. And that is the commitment. It doesn't matter how big or small it is. A commitment is a commitment. It doesn't matter if we're climbing a mountain or we're doing a 2-minute session. If we follow through on that, our nervous system reads it in the same way. It's still that same layer of identity being built. It's still one brick that we are adding to building the foundation of our castle. And so that's the first part, designing the structure, the what and the how in a smart way that makes it easy to follow through on. The second part is also design related, and it's more the physical, the environment. And so again, this is very similar to James Clear's ideology around removing friction from your environment, making it easy, and this is just a simple way that we can do it. So it might be getting an exercise bike that you can put in your courtyard so that you see it every day when you walk past it. Just things like that make setting up your environment easy. So the first two steps are around design, the structure, the what and how. The second is the physical environment, to make things easy, to make yourself easy to follow through on. This stuff is like your classic habit formation stuff. The third part of this is just having some intention around keeping this stuff front of mind, and the best way to do it is to track and review. And so this might be like a daily check-in, and it might take you 30 seconds just to mark off what you committed to, what habits you are kind of trying to build, or what habits you're trying to delete from your life, and whether you did it. And that in itself is a commitment, right, to doing that habit. And when I set up my clients with like a 12-week plan, we might set up training behaviours, nutrition, sleep, stress, movement, whatever it is. But I always say the number one priority is this daily check-in. Even if you get no other of these habits done, if you get this daily check-in done, that's the win. That's the first priority, that's the commitment. Because even if you don't do it, it keeps it front of mind. And this nature of like tracking and reflecting on it, when you do that, it hurts a little bit, and you go, I didn't train today. And so you might have like a habit tracker, you might use an app. And another good way is to if you like the physical reminders, you could get like a jar of marbles, and every time you follow through, you keep that commitment, you move a marble to the jar, to the empty jar. And if you don't, you put one back. And over time, you'll start to see this jar of marbles being filled. And that is your evidence that you do what you say you're going to do. And so outside of all the nuts and bolts and thinking about designing habits and kind of like restructuring how you think about these commitments themselves to make it easier to build evidence over time and stack these micro commitments one after the other to rebuild your trust. Think about that frame from a higher level, about that running example. That this has been what's the most impactful thing for me, learning more about it and implementing this stuff into my life, is that I would never let a friend down if we organised something. I would never not show up and not say anything. But I would be more likely to do it to myself. Why is that? And so I would rather teach my nervous system that I am reliable, and I'm going to treat myself like I would treat anyone else. And so hopefully that is a helpful way of looking at it. And hope you have a beautiful day.